Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, D3 Topics Gamer here to share with you another one of my weekly Q&As, how the people's questions were answered, a series of questions that have been sent to me over the past week. We got a lot more questions this time around, despite that a few questions I was able to answer in the comment section, and some of these are actually from some new people. So I'm actually very excited that new people are starting to come in and send in their questions because heck, that just tells me that, heck, the channel is definitely growing in a positive way. So before I start getting into you guys' questions, I'd like to, if you can, have time or haven't already, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Keep track of me in all my future videos. And remember, if you have any more videos or, just, ranking or, video review ideas that you would like me to do with the channel, make sure you type those ideas also in the comments down below, as well as future questions for future episodes of the people's questions. So starting off with the first question, coming from the Batman of Neil Gotham, and you want to know, what is your honest thoughts on the recent continuous wave of school shootings in the past month? And do you personally think that it is a sign of something worse to come for the American society? At this point, I've gotten pretty numb to all these shootings. I mean, it's not even a question of, are we going to have another school shooting, or are we going to have a shooting in general? It's a matter of if. And we've gone through this whole cycle for years. Like, we've had so many just shootings over the past 10 years. It's like, the shooting happens, people die, the news reports on it, people say, well, we're sending our thoughts and prayers, which do absolutely nothing. Maybe Congress will talk like, maybe, should we put, some restrictions on gun laws? Should we do something? And then you got people complaining about, well, we don't want to give up our Second Amendment to bear arms. And then after a month, people completely forget about them. I mean, just these kids that were killed in this school in Texas. I mean, this was horrible. I mean, when I saw this shooting happening, I immediately thought of a few kids that I saw growing up. And I immediately thought that, oh my God, that they are the exact same age. That could have been them. But guess what? People are going to forget about this in like 2 or 3 months and be like, well, it happens. That's America for you. And I just hate that that's where we are right now. School shootings and shootings like this are so common that it's just like, we're completely numb to it. And the people who are suffering, they're the ones that are suffering, not the country. The country's not suffering from it. This is just how things are now. It's not shocking anymore. And I think that sucks. And do I think this is a sign of worse things to come? I'm not sure what is worse to come. What, another terrorist attack? Are we expecting maybe a nuclear strike on us or something? I mean, if that's something worse, I mean, that's just the end of the world right there. The world's got bigger problems than that. So, yeah, it's upsetting. It sucks. All I can do is just do my best to kind of stay out of the way. But yeah, this is not good. America, as United States as a country, is not in a good spot, and it hasn't been for some time. It's been so long. I can't even say I can't even say the term I'm proud to be an American, because I'm not. It sucks. I mean, I'm sure I have it better than some people in some other countries, but heck, that doesn't make my situation very good either. Next question comes from Brady Burke, and you had a personal question. Which heck, I welcome all kinds of personal questions, but this one went pretty deep. And you wanted to know, have I ever had a point in my life where you feel like nothing is ever going to change for you for the better? If so, how did I overcome it? Oh, Brady. Oh man, I've been like this for years. I go through depression, deep pits of depression every month. There's not a week I go by that I don't think about committing suicide. I mean, it's bad. I mean, ever since I got out of high school, my life really hasn't improved as much as I thought. I mean, I've had thoughts about where I thought my life should be by certain periods, and then when they don't happen, I just feel nothing but disappointments. I mean, look at my current situation. I'm about to turn 32 in less than 2 months. I'm about to reach the same age that my dad was when he had his first kid. And by the time my dad was my age, he had fought through 2 tours of Vietnam, killed several enemy combatants, had been around the world at different bases, had already been married and divorced, and was about to have his first kid. And this was in the 70s to 80s. And yet here I am in 2022, 31, about to turn 32, and all I'm wondering, what have I done with my life? Can it really improve? Is it worth living? I mean, if this is what my life is going to be, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind. My dad was 65, about to turn 66 the next day before he died. And if this is what my life is, I don't want to live to be 60. I'm not even sure if I want to live to be 50. I mean, part of me thinks I'm not. I probably will end up dying before I get to 40, and I don't think I'd care about that. I mean, there's only like one or two things in life that I want to live long enough to see, and once I've seen that, I don't think I care what happens to me. I mean, my ambition for a better life is slowly degrading if I don't make any major changes. And I've seen three different psychiatrists over the course of my life, and I've even documented. Like I have, like I'm not sure if you guys know this. I have journals, and I've documented all of my 20s, and I've even started documenting my 30s. And dear God, it is a sad journey that I've been on. A sad path of depression. Constantly thinking about suicides. Needing to talk to people to talk me out of it. Just trying to find a reason to keep going. Wondering, what my death would mean to other people. Would people really care? Would you guys care? Would you guys just forget about me in a month or two? I mean, these are the thoughts that are constantly going through my mind. It's a constant battle. And I've never gotten over it. And I'm still fighting now. Oh yeah, it's tough, but I do try. It's not easy. I wake up every morning just wondering, is it worth it? So, you're talking to the wrong person because I want things to change. I want life to prove me wrong, and I wish I just knew the right direction to go because all I'm doing is I'm making this up as I go, just a little bit of help. And I feel like the people who could have helped aren't here anymore. My father was the most intelligent man I'd ever known, and he's gone now. And he's been gone for almost 6 years. That's what I miss about him the most. And the people who I do care about the most, they're not physically here. They're for me in spirit where they are, and they're doing far better than I am. But I just wish that I could talk to them in person or have some way of getting some sort of new direction or some guidance to improve my life. That's what I'm just desperate for right now, but I'm trying. So yeah, if you're asking for someone to how do I overcome it, you're talking to the wrong person because I haven't. I'm still fighting. Next question comes from Shadow Deces Gaming, and you want to know, do I think that Darth Vader being put in Fortnite will motivate Kingdom Hearts to put him in Kingdom Hearts 4? I don't know, and I don't really care. If they put Darth Vader in Kingdom Hearts, fine, but it's like, after what I experienced in 3, it's like I'm not too enthusiastic for Kingdom Hearts 4. I mean, will I play it when it comes out? Sure, but am I super excited for it? Absolutely not. The Kingdom Hearts franchise as a whole is just not in a great place for me story-wise. The story's still all over the place. I don't even know what's going on anymore. Kingdom Hearts 3 was the first time I completely gave up on a game's plot, and I was just focused on beating it as quickly as possible. That's hard to do. But somehow Kingdom Hearts 3 managed to do that. So heck, if they can do it. As far as I know, just make it a good game. That's all I care about. They can do whatever they want. If they want to put Darth Vader in it, fine. Just hope it's a good game. Next question comes from Super Sam Zach. He wants to know which Transformers show is my favorite and why. Without question, my favorite Transformers show was Transformers Armada. I know I grew up with Beast Wars in the 90s, but it really wasn't until 2000s, I think it's like 2001's Armada that I was really into it. I absolutely loved the animation. I loved the use of the mini-cons. I liked the story that they were telling. And it also is connected to what is currently my third favorite Transformers game, which was, I believe, the 2004 Transformer game simply called Transformers, which a lot of people have forgotten about. They love the Cybertron games, which, trust me, those are top tier, like, just not even Transformers games, but just games in general. Those are all-time favorites. But, like, this is what I loved playing before those games. And it's a shame that a lot of people have forgotten about this game, because it really is amazing, and it's the only one that's connected to my favorite interpretation of the Transformers cartoon show, which is the Armada series. So, yeah, definitely Armada. Next question comes from the first new person, and I'm just gonna call you Tora, and I'll be sure to leave the rest of your name in the bar. But you want to know, why do I hate Final Fantasy VII Remake so much? Do you hate it as much as Final Damnation 13? No, I don't hate it as much as Final Damnation 13. If I ever played the Final Fantasy VII Remake, then I would hate it more than Final Damnation 13, and I'm not doing that to myself. I will not risk putting anything related to 7 in that category. Final Fantasy 7 is such a polarizing franchise, because you have 7, which is the most important video game I've ever played. You have Final Fantasy X, which is my favorite JRPG game of all time, and only my second favorite video game of all time, slightly dethroned by Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. And then you have Final Damnation 13, which is the worst video game I'll ever play in my life. And then you have the remake of 7, which is the worst video game I will never play. And if I ever did play that, it would then dethrone Final Damnation 13. And I don't want to risk doing that. Now the reason I hate that I don't want to play it is I don't like what they do with it. It has nothing to do with its visuals. It has nothing to do with the combat system. It has nothing to do with its aesthetics. It has nothing to do with all the changes. The problem I have with it is its plot and how they're choosing to sell this game. I do not like how they split this game into multiple parts. There was absolutely no justification for doing that. Because if they continue with this format, this sends a dangerous message. Because it makes no sense to split a game that came out in 1997 that came on 3 discs. And that when you compare it to modern games, it's really a tiny game. And yet they were able to tell a full story game back in the 90s. And yet, for whatever reason, they can't do that now. Because they're trying to milk Final Fantasy VII for everything it's got. So where's their plan? We're just going to split it into multiple games. I bet your ass they're going to split this game into 3, maybe even 4 different games. And that makes no sense. Because I'll tell you this much. Final Fantasy 15, despite having problems, this was a massive game. There is no way that Final Fantasy Remake 7 is going to get anywhere near this size. And they were able to fit it onto 1 disc in 1 game. So Square Enix had no excuse. They were saying, oh no, we just didn't know how to work the open worldness, so we thought we'd make it its own separate thing. That is absolute bullshit. And they know it. They're just trying to make as much money because they know that people are stupid and will buy anything Final Fantasy VII. I see through the charades and I want nothing to do with it. Because if they're going to try this practice with Final Fantasy VII, a game that came out in the 90s, I'm not even sure what they're going to do with Final Fantasy 16. What if they find out that they're going to split that into multiple different games that you'll have to pay full price for? This sends a dangerous message. And the story itself added all these different changes that made the story completely unrecognizable. It made characters unrecognizable. Characters were acting in ways that just made no sense. And they added all these different story elements that made the story go all over the place to the point where I don't even know what they're doing anymore. And I don't even want to mess with what they're doing with the remake of Crisis Core, because I'm afraid they're going to make the same bigger mistakes, maybe even bigger. So I'm better off just staying away from it. If people want to play these remake Final Fantasy VII games, that's fine. But I am not going to risk ruining how I feel about this game because of how Final Fantasy VII, how important it is to me. And I'm not going to risk ruining that just to play some bullshit updated version, which is not even necessary. I actually kind of wish that the 7 remake never existed. I really wish it never existed. I really do. It wasn't never needed. Final Fantasy 7 was ahead of its time, and now it's so many steps behind so many other JRPGs that have come over the last number of years. It's not even funny. Next question comes from... Okay, this one's a little bit hard to pronounce, but I'll try. But you go by the name of Makama Safa? I hope I said that right. I apologize. I'm really bad with these type of new names. But you want to know, been watching you for a while, but never have I seen at any time of this writing this, you talk about Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise on social media, Twitch, or YouTube. Besides all of the memes and bad release date, I think, in my personal opinion, it is a great game. Will I ever play it? I have never even heard of this game, so yeah, I can't, I don't know. I've never heard of it. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't play anything that says Final Fantasy on it. Maybe I'll take a good look, but I'm kind of occupied with several different games right now, so thanks for bringing it to my attention, but it's probably not. If I haven't heard about it up to this point, it's probably something I'm not too interested into. I'm pretty good on top of keeping up with things that I'm actually interested in playing, and even if I'm not talking about it now, it's probably because I was never interested to begin with. Next question comes from JDS4696. Welcome back. We haven't seen you in a while. And you want to know, what are my thoughts on the Resident Evil 4 remake? I'm very mixed about it because I don't. It's one of the few games I don't think ever needed a remake. I play Resident Evil 4 like at least once a year. And I've played it on so many different platforms. I've played it on PlayStation 2. I've played it on PlayStation 3. I've played it on PlayStation 4. I'm probably going to end up playing it on PlayStation 5 if I haven't already. I'm pretty sure I have. I've played it on the Nintendo Switch. I've played it on PC. I've played it on GameCube. It is without question one of the greatest survival horror games I've ever played. It was the game that made me a Resident Evil fan to begin with. And it was it's only one of 3 games that has ever legitimately scared me. So I understood a remake was certainly possible because they're kind of going through this tradition of remaking older games, but I just kind of wish that I'd be more accepting of it if they'd remade Code Veronica first. Remake all of the tank control focused games, the tank and crappy controls and crappy camera angles. Remake all those games first before you start messing with the games that use the much more updated and improved over the shoulder gameplay aspect. Because it makes me wonder: are they eventually gonna remake Resident Evil 5? Are they gonna remake Resident Evil 6? Are they gonna remake Resident Evil 7? Are they gonna remake the Revelation games? I mean, where's this gonna stop? I'm very much curious. So while I'll give this Resident Evil 4 remake a shot, part of me feels that I am not gonna end up enjoying it as much as I did the original game, which to this day is it's still a 10 out of 10 game. It's easily in my top 5 favorite video games of all time. So yeah, I'll give it a chance, but I'm not gonna set my expectations too high. And the last question of the episode comes from the Black Dragon, who is also new. And you also had a semi-personal question, which I love. And you wanted to know, am I planning on moving out of Las Vegas in the near future? Dear God, Black Dragon, I want to get out of Vegas so bad. I hate living in Vegas. I've hated living in Vegas most of my life. And I've moved out 3 times. And I end up coming back because of bullshit reasons. I moved out of Vegas when I was 18 to go to college for game design. Went to college. And then I ended up moving back. And then I moved to Riverside, California for about 6 months and ended up moving back. And then I moved to Dublin, California for about 6 months and had to move back. And I've been stuck here ever since. I absolutely hate living in Vegas. I'm a firm believer that you should never stay where you grew up. And that has been the case for both of my parents and most adults that I know. They don't stay where they grew up. My brother does not live where he grew up or where he was born. I'm a firm believer that if you grew up in one spot, you owe it to yourself to move out and establish your own roots somewhere else. Now, I understand that for my siblings, they don't feel that way. They want to stay here in Vegas, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't. My mom does not want to stay in Vegas. My dad, before he passed, did not want to stay in Vegas. When he retired, he had every intention on moving back to Maryland. I just don't like being in Vegas. I mean, trust me, I'm desperate to be in a relationship. I'm desperate to start my own family. Yet I know I cannot do it here in Vegas. Vegas is not a good place to want to raise a family. And I know that from experience because my mom and dad had a hell of a time raising us here. They had a hell of a time, and we didn't even realize how hard it was to raise us here. I mean, this is just not a good family city to live in. If I was ever given an opportunity to move to a much better city, I would take it up. I would take it up in a heartbeat. Just any opportunity to get out of Vegas, I would take it without questioning it, just for a chance to actually start being someone else. It just feels like this persona that I've built, this personality that I've built, has been formed because this is who I am in Vegas. I think if I was when I'm anywhere else, I'm in such a happier place. Whenever I go visit my brother in El Paso, I'm a completely different person, and I'm so relaxed, I'm so energetic, I'm so happy. I was just in Universal Studios for 2 days, and I was just happy. It's just there's something about staying in Vegas that feels like poison, and it just keeps me in a down mood. I can't even remember the last time I felt legitimately happy here in Vegas. I'm just kind of in this constant down mood because that is what I'm just used to being here in Vegas. But anytime I leave Vegas, I'm a completely different person. I'm happy, I'm energetic, I'm up for trying new different things, I'm up to meeting new people and talking to new people and making new friends and doing new experiences. I don't feel like that at all here in Vegas. I have seen and done everything you ever need to do in Vegas. And I hate living in Las Vegas. And I want out. I just need to find a way out. I just want out. I just want out so bad. So yeah, I really do. I really want to get out of Vegas. I really do. And I'm sick of living with my siblings. It's been 6 years since my dad passed, and things have not changed. I'm in the exact same position. No, I take it back. I'm in a worse position now than I was since before my dad passed. Because back then, I didn't have to worry about as many bills as I did now. I was living in a much bigger house, and now I've moved from apartment to apartment. I have moved 4 times in 6 years since living in the house I grew up in. And that is not good. I very much would like to stay in one spot for a good amount of time, and I have to constantly move different positions of the valley. Which is never fun to do. It brings so many challenges and problems. So, yes, Black Dragon, I want to move out of Vegas so bad. I just need to find a way to do it. I need to save up enough and get out. And once I do that, then I think my life will start improving for the better. I won't feel as depressed, and I'll feel more enthusiastic to live the best life I can. But as long as I'm stuck here in Vegas, I will never feel that way. So that will do it for this much extensive and great episode of People's Questions. I love the questions that you guys sent in. And remember, if you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer in the next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me right before next Wednesday, around noon, before I start filming next episode. And remember, keep the questions up. This is probably one of the best episodes I've actually had in some time. So again, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you all next time.